You're listening to the N2K Space Network.
And now, a word from our sponsor, SpyCloud, the cybercrime analytics leader. SpyCloud disrupts cybercrime by telling you what criminals know about your business and your customers, so you can take action to prevent ransomware, session hijacking, account takeover, and online fraud. SpyCloud constantly recaptures and analyzes new data from the criminal underground, including credentials, session cookies, and PII siphoned from malware-infected devices. With knowledge of the specific exposed data criminals have in hand from InfoStealer malware on managed and unmanaged devices, security teams can respond with a more efficient and effective process called post-infection remediation that fits seamlessly into existing incident response frameworks. Get SpyCloud's post-infection remediation guide outlining the 7 steps for preventing a malware infection from becoming a full-blown ransomware incident. Visit spycloud.com/cyberwire. That's spycloud.com/cyberwire. And we thank SpyCloud for sponsoring our show.
Nuclear thermal propulsion systems. That phrase sends a shiver down the spine of many a space nerd who have been dreaming of nuclear engines since, 1961 or so. 2 years ago, many people were thrilled to hear that DARPA was dusting off this idea and finally developing it into a proper project. And today, we're finding out who won the contract to bring this dream to reality.
T-minus 20 seconds to LOS egress. Go for deploy. Roger roll.
Today is July 27th, 2023. I'm Maria Varmazes, and this is T-minus. Lockheed Martin wins the DRACO contract. Aerojet Rocketdyne to demo an updated radioisotope power system, and L3Harris gets the green light to purchase them. Boeing faces financial woes. And our guest today is Jules Lancee, founder of the website We Work in Space, which focuses on promoting non-technical roles across the aerospace industry. Stay with us. Let's take a look at our intel briefing for today. We've been using nuclear batteries or radioisotope power systems on spacecraft for many decades now. They're what's keeping Voyager 1 and 2 rockin' and rollin' way out in interstellar space, after all. But those are batteries. What about harnessing the power of nuclear reactions to propel spacecraft? On paper, nuclear engines are 3 to 5 times more powerful than existing chemical propulsion systems, which could drastically reduce the transit time for long-distance destinations like the Moon or Mars. And that's one of the reasons why many people have been dreaming of it for decades. But there's good reason it's been mainly a dream until recently. The major downsides of nuclear engines, historically, is that they were difficult and risky to make, they required large reactors that would be really heavy to launch, and primarily, when you're talking about enriched nuclear fuel, it's just really dang expensive. But as with many things in space, stuff gets smaller, stuff gets more efficient, and that means stuff gets a lot cheaper, and suddenly we can do a lot more out there than we thought. And you might not have known this, and I certainly didn't, but the miniaturization revolution has been making its way through nuclear power in the last few years. And that's undoubtedly why DARPA decided that the time was right to revisit this technology. 2 years ago, DARPA kicked off a project called Demonstration Rocket for Agile Cislunar Operations, or DRACO, with NASA's Space Technology Mission Directorate. Their goal was to do an in-space flight demo of a nuclear thermal rocket engine by 2027. And yesterday, DARPA announced that they've tapped Lockheed Martin to develop this demonstration spacecraft. The system that Lockheed is developing will use a fission-based reactor to heat hydrogen propellant to create thrust. And Lockheed, in turn, says that nuclear reactor will use a new advanced reactor fuel called high-assay low-enriched uranium, or HALEU, which can squeeze a lot more power per unit of volume, allowing for a much less expensive and physically smaller reactor. I am one of those aforementioned space nerds who's been very excited about nuclear engines, so I will be watching news on this one as work continues for sure. This could be a serious game changer for long-duration space missions if it's successful. And continuing with the nuclear energy theme, Aerojet Rocketdyne announced today that they will build and demonstrate key components for an updated radioisotope power system under a multi-million-dollar contract for NASA's robotic deep space exploration program. The Battelle Energy Alliance, acting on behalf of the U.S. Department of Energy's Idaho National Laboratory, recently finalized Aerojet Rocketdyne's Phase 2 contract for the next-generation radioisotope thermoelectric generator. The company is working with Teledyne Energy Systems, Ball Aerospace, and RGS Development BV on the multi-year effort. And speaking of Aerojet Rocketdyne, L3Harris has been given the green light by the Federal Trade Commission to proceed with its purchase of the company. L3Harris CEO Chris Kubasik told investors that, quote, "The FTC will not block our acquisition of Aerojet Rocketdyne. Therefore, we are moving forward to close the transaction on or about July 28th. Both companies had been sent a second request for information by federal regulators over antitrust concerns associated with the deal. We hope to bring you an update on this story in tomorrow's show. Boeing's Starliner program continues to be plagued with bad news. Their finances have taken the latest hit, with Q2 results reporting a $257 million charge for the Starliner astronaut spacecraft program. The latest figures bring the program's to-date overrun costs to $1.5 billion. Starliner was scheduled to launch NASA astronauts to the International Space Station this month, but once again pushed back the schedule after discovering issues with the vehicle. And more financial woes in the industry. Luxembourg-based defense and intelligence company Kleos Space has started bankruptcy proceedings. The company has been unsuccessful in its bid to raise more funds. Kleos Space recently reported problems with some of its launched satellites, leading to their write-off. The company had launched 3 clusters of 4 satellites to detect radio frequency signals and determine their location. Kleos Space had been providing radio frequency monitoring data to both government and commercial customers, and had also signed agreements with the National Reconnaissance Office. So, to balance the financial bad news, we have some good news to share. The U.S. Defense Information Systems Agency and the U.S. Space Force's Space Systems Command has awarded 16 companies 5-year contracts to establish commercial communications for military use. The companies receiving the awards are SpaceX, Capella Space, Black Sky Technology, SES, EchoStar Corporation, Viasat, Amazon's Kuiper, Intelsat, OneWeb Technologies, Aerinc, Artel, PAR Technology Group, RightNet, Satcom Direct, Trace Systems, and Ultisat. Whew! Space Systems Command says this multiple partner, multiple award contract model is a first for government SATCOM procurement and promises to deliver capabilities to the warfighter faster and at a lower cost compared to traditional one contract per mission partner task order. Reuters is reporting that India's effort to privatize part of its space program by opening bids to build its small satellite launch rocket has attracted interest from 20 companies. India is following the United States by opening launch and other space businesses to private investment. India's newly created space regulatory body, the Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center, known as IN-SPACE, opened the process earlier this month. But not every company is eligible to bid for the program. According to IN-SPACE, eligible companies have to be profitable, and the lead bidder in a consortium has to have at least 5 years of manufacturing experience and annual revenue of over $48.8 million. India is aiming to increase its share of the global satellite launch market by 5-fold within the next 10 years. And staying in India for a moment, Earth imaging firm Pixel has been awarded a grant from the Indian Air Force's IDEX Prime program to manufacture small multi-payload satellites. The satellites will include electro-optical, infrared, synthetic aperture radar, and hyperspectral applications. The funding is part of a Spark grant program offered by the Indian government to enable Indian innovators and entrepreneurs the ability to deliver technologically advanced solutions and propel deep tech innovations. And our friends in Scotland seem to have spaceport fever, with the third launch site moving forward in North Uist. Plans to build the spaceport on the small Hebridean island have been given the nod to proceed. The spaceport proposal is being led by the Western Isles Council, who bought the site, which was previously a farm, for £1 million, and is developing it with the private military contractor Kinetic and space industry firms Rhea Group and Commercial Space Technologies. The facility hopes to host up to 10 suborbital rocket launches a year. And that concludes our briefing for today. As always, you can find links to further reading on all the stories we've covered today in our show notes at space.n2k.com. Hey T- crew, if your business is looking to grow your voice in the industry, expand the reach of your thought leadership, or recruit talent, T- can help. We'd like to hear from you. Just send us an email at space@n2k.com or send us a note through our website so we can connect about building a program to meet your goals.
And now a word from our sponsor, 6 Sense. 6 Sense provides award-winning cloud-based automated endpoint and vulnerability management solutions to streamline IT and security operations. With its advanced platform, businesses gain complete visibility and control over their infrastructure, reducing IT and security risks and optimizing operational efficiency. With 6 Sense, you'll get real-time alerts, risk-based vulnerability prioritization and remediations, and an intuitive automation and orchestration engine so you can focus on your core business goals, confident in the knowledge that your enterprise is secure, compliant, and running smoothly. Visit 6sense.com to learn why enterprises choose them.
Our guest today is Jules Lancee, founder of the website We Work in Space. Jules is looking to showcase non-traditional careers in aerospace and careers across continents. I started off by asking him how he got involved in the space industry.
I have a background. My early part of my career was in healthcare innovation, both nationally and internationally, exploring the future of health and care and how it impacts the work that we do in hospitals and medical centers. However, my passion for space and aviation was really unstoppable. Although I liked health innovation, I've always wanted to fly and I wanted to go to space. And at some point, I realized that one of them, at least, was sort of within range of the possibilities. And so I went to flight school and get my pilot's license. So that is checked. But the other one, cool. The other one proved a bit more difficult. Of course, I joined the Call for Astronauts by the European Space Agency, together with 22,000 others. And I've worked on a lot of space health projects, for example, through the Space Generation Advisory Council, trying to combine my health expertise with my passion for space. But I never really found a paid position in that field, in the space health field. It was quite niche. And then I went to International Space University and studied space there. It's there where I realized that space health was only one of the niches in space, next to many others like space law, business development, HR, marketing, design, etc., you name it. And that is why I started WeWorkInSpace.com to connect the non-tech space professional community with each other, with resources, with jobs. And next to running my own space company, who would have thought that, I work as a freelancer for clients in aviation and space.
Cool origin story for We Work in Space. So you just mentioned it and how you came up with the idea. Tell me a little bit about the website, how it works, how people should use it, that kind of thing?
Well, space is booming. That's why this podcast exists. That's why you have many guests on the show, of course. There's a lot of investment in space companies. There's companies starting to offer services in space tourism, for example. There's all kinds of new satellite constellations on the rise. New space companies are creating fascinating new concepts. And so while this space is booming, this exponentially increasing industry, the need for employees and skills increases as well. And while engineers are essential to these efforts, to anything that's going on in space, of course, space is more than engineering and offers plenty of opportunities for people passionate about space. But as I said, when you go look for a job in space, all you find is companies looking for satellite engineers or rocket scientists. And that is not me, that many others are not too.
Me neither.
No, exactly. So many of these job listing platforms, they're almost always geared towards engineering roles. And clearly plenty of other jobs exist in the industry. And so whether you are a lawyer, a medical professional, a designer, there's a place for you. And it's our goal to help you find that next step in the industry. And on the other hand, help companies find and recruit new talents for their companies. So it started off as a handpicked job listing, a big job board, and a bi-weekly newsletter. Where we now is that we have an automated job board. We are present on LinkedIn to stream all those new opportunities to a growing audience. We have featured companies. We started a portrait series of people already doing the non-tech space work to inspire others to make that next step, to show what it can be like to work in a non-tech space job, which companies are out there recruiting for them. And then there's a recruitment branch where we can help companies find those new talents from our pool of non-tech space enthusiasts or professionals, really. Yeah.
What do you think that companies could be doing better to recruit non-engineering talent? I've often heard that companies have a hard time finding people that maybe, as you said, because there is so much emphasis on the engineering side, that people who are not engineers don't even realize there is a job for them. What recommendations do you have for companies to do better on that front?
Yeah, that's a tough question. It's the same question as I have to recruit new people to find we work in space, of course. And it's hard when you look outside of the space sector to find new personnel or new candidates. To be honest, I didn't really crack that puzzle yet. For one, it helps show to see what you can do in the space sector. So in comparison to other sectors, I always find people in the space sector so much more passionate than many other places. Almost everyone working in the space industry is a space fanboy and fangirl, really. And
yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, I think that helps. And I think that showcasing what you can do in space, and that's what we try to do with the portrait series of showing how people do the non-tech space work helps. It's what we see that also helps get more people to our platform, to the website, to our LinkedIn channel.
I was going to say, do you have a favorite? I know I saw them earlier. There's a lot. I don't know is there a favorite story that you might want to recount for people, or it's hard to choose, I suppose. But
so I like in our portrait series that there's so much diversity in all the backgrounds of people. Some people are even from a tech background and choose to do non-tech work, but the diversity in backgrounds people working in space education, space finance, space business development, entrepreneurs as well, communication, marketing. There is so much to do in the space sector. That really surprised me, and that makes me really happy to share these stories with our audience. Yeah,
that's wonderful. Last question, because I know we've covered a lot of ground. So, say my podcast gig doesn't work out, and I'm looking for a job. What non-engineering type of roles in space companies do you see as being especially in demand? Companies are really looking for these folks, and they maybe are having a hard time finding those roles.
Space companies are looking for marketeers, for business developers. I see a lot of these positions. Also a lot of roles in finance and HR and recruitment, which is kind of ironic maybe. Of course, looking for staff a lot as the industry is growing. these are positions that I see pass by a lot. Yes. Also, there's a growing demand for people in design, for example, designers, not necessarily graphical or visual designers, but also to help help designing processes or service design your products so that they tailor the needs of customers better. These are also very often positions that pass by.
That makes a lot of sense given the commercial growth as well. So I imagine optimization in that regard would be something a lot of companies are looking for. So what are the reactions that you've been getting from people when you talk about your new project?
Yeah, so reactions have been really great, both on the job seeker side as on the company side. So job seekers or just people passionate about space are saying, I wish this website existed when I was looking for a job. I can't believe that that wasn't here already. And also companies react enthusiastically, submitting their open positions through our online form or inquiring about services. For example, now a client wishes to showcase their non-tech employees through our portrait series to showcase to the world that you don't need to be an engineer to work at that particular company. So we're seeing really a growing follower base, which is really cool to see. I started it in March last year, and soon the amount of followers, for example, on LinkedIn started growing and growing, and now every week there's so much traction that is really cool to see. So I'm looking forward to see that I can bring this to a point that this is the go-to spot for the non-tech professional that wants to work in space or that is looking for a new step in his career. His or her career. So that's really cool to see. Yeah.
I look forward to seeing it grow. I think you're well on your way, and congratulations on it. And thank you for doing this, because as a non-technical person, this is a very needed project. So thank you. Jules, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Now, a word from our sponsor, the Johns Hopkins University Information Security Institute, currently seeking qualified applicants for its innovative Master of Science in Security Informatics degree program. Study alongside world-class interdisciplinary experts and gain unparalleled educational, research, and professional experience in information security and assurance. Interested U.S. citizens should consider the National Science Foundation's CyberCore Scholarship for Service program, which covers tuition and a $6,000 annual professional development allowance, as well as providing a $37,000 additional annual stipend. Apply for the scholarship and the fall semester by March 1st. Learn more at cs.jhu.edu/MSSI.
Welcome back. If either Voyager can hear me out there in interstellar space right now, their ears, so to speak, must be burning because I'm talking about them twice today. A very unique bit of space memorabilia went up for bid on Sotheby's today. Maybe a treat as much for the audiophile as for the space fan. The master audio recordings of the entire Voyager Golden Record, in excellent condition, still in their boxes, on 2 double-sided reels of 1/4-inch reel-to-reel tape were up for bid. And these happen to be directly from the personal collection of Andrew Yan and Carl Sagan. Yes, you can buy the copies of the Golden Record anywhere you want online and listen to the sound clips and music anywhere on YouTube, really. But these are the originals, and you really can't beat the provenance of who it belonged to. The estimated monetary value of these recordings is around $500,000 US, Sotheby said. But a piece of history like this is surely priceless and belongs in a museum. Perhaps that's why when bidding closed earlier today, this item received 0 bids. It'll be interesting to see where it goes next. Perhaps to the makers of music, all worlds, all times. That's it for T-Minus for July 27th, 2023. For additional resources from today's report, check out our show notes at space.n2k.com. We're privileged that N2K and podcasts like T- are part of the daily routine of many of the most influential leaders and operators in the public and private sector, from the Fortune 500 to many of the world's preeminent intelligence and law enforcement agencies. This episode was produced by Alice Carruth, mixing by Elliot Peltzman and Trey Hester, with original music and sound design by Elliot Peltzman. Our executive producer is Brandon Karpf. Our chief intelligence officer is Eric Tillman. And I'm Maria Varmazes. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.